So one of the downsides of content creating is sometimes you'll say something and then an hour later, 2 hours later, something the complete opposite will happen. In this case, it was probably about a day later, but I made a video, as some of you guys know, about my 3 expectations for the Atlanta Falcons. I've been doing a video for each team. I'm getting to it at least. And I said that my gut tells me I feel like Julio Jones will not be traded because I didn't see Arthur Smith taking that job, a new GM being hired to just come in and trade that guy right away. But Julio Jones was on speakerphone with Shannon Sharpe on Undisputed and basically said, yeah, I'm out of there. So Julio Jones looks like he might indeed get traded from the Atlanta Falcons, which I think would be surprising, but I definitely can see why it happens. I went over that in my last video about the Falcons, how if they're going to trade him, I feel like now is the right time because the guy's 32. He missed some games last year. He's had a bunch of injuries in his career. I did say he plays through a lot of those injuries, but he's definitely somewhat injury prone. So this is probably the peak time to trade Julio Jones if you want to get a good return. The Falcons want a first-round pick, apparently. I feel like they can get that probably. I mean, we'll find out, of course. But in this video, we're going to go over some of the betting odds, destinations, who has the best odds to land Julio Jones in the 2021 NFL season. Hope you guys enjoy. And let's get into it. So it depends where you look, of course, because each place is different. But according to BetOnline AG, they tweeted this yesterday about 6 o'clock p.m. They had the Patriots as the favorite at -105, and this is not including the Falcons. It's only if he's traded. And then second was the Titans at +275. I feel like in most places you look, the Falcons and the Titans are going to be the teams that are pretty much the favorites to land Julio Jones. I feel like they are not going to have the highest first-round picks next year. I feel like the Patriots should be a pretty good team next year. The Titans should be close to the playoffs next year, if not in the playoffs. Those are two teams that should win 8, 9, 10, 11 games next year. So I feel like if they traded a first-round pick, you're not trading a top 10 pick, basically. So I could see New England going that route, honestly. I mean, New England traded once it was a 4th-round pick, I believe, for Randy Moss in 2007, so that's definitely a lot different than a first-round pick. But they have shown in the past that they're not afraid to go out there and get a top-tier wide receiver. And based on what the Patriots did this offseason of signing Hunter Henry and Jonnu Smith and Nelson Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne and just about every other average wide receiver on the market, they really just want to improve that receiving core. It makes a lot of sense because ever since 2019, Brady's last season, they really didn't have anything there. It was just basically Julian Edelman, and they tried to trade for Mohamed Sanu. It didn't really work out the way they wanted it to, and since then, they've kind of just been searching and looking for guys to be their wide receiver one. They tried to draft N'Keal Harry. It has not worked out so far. So Julio Jones going to New England might not be the best landing spot for him because I feel like playing with Cam Newton's not the best thing for a receiver these days. We don't know who Mac Jones is right now, a little Alabama connection, him and Julio Jones, but I feel like we don't know who Mac Jones is right now, if he's going to be an average quarterback, is he going to be good? So it's not the most sure thing. Now, I think honestly the best, I'm going to say where I think he's going to go in the best case for him. I think the Titans are a very good case for him because the Titans, of course, they lost Jonnu Smith, they lost Corey Davis to the Jets, and Smith to the Patriots, of course. So I feel like playing for the Titans, who, Ryan Tannehill has been one of the better quarterbacks in football the past year and a half, and it's A.J. Brown and just a bunch of guys. Of course, Derrick Henry, you can include him as well, but I think they lost Adam Humphries, their slot receiver. They lost Tajay Sharp, whether it was last year or the year before, I don't know. But they've lost a lot of pieces there in Tennessee, and I feel like they could really use another wide receiver. And why not get Julio Jones? Like, Julio Jones and A.J. Brown are some of the most physically gifted and dominant receivers in the NFL. And you put them, and even Derrick Henry, like put those 3 guys on the same team, you're talking about like a crazy, scary offense. Like, that's the type of team that when you see them get off the bus, you're like, oh crap. Like, you don't want to get involved with that offense. So that would be very scary to have that, big 3, quote unquote, of A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, Julio Jones. I think I would like that. For the Ravens, they're plus 300. I don't know, man. I mean, Lamar Jackson, how good can he be at getting Julio Jones the ball consistently? We have not really seen a receiver for the Baltimore Ravens, on the outside at least, because Mark Andrews over the middle has definitely had a lot of success there. Even Willie Snead had some moments last year playing the slot. But guys on the outside playing for Lamar Jackson have not really been too successful. I mean, of course, they took Marquise Brown in like the 2nd round, I think it was a couple years ago. He's had his moments, but definitely not consistent. I feel like they have not really had a great outside weapon for Lamar Jackson. Maybe that's because the receivers aren't good enough, and if you put Julio Jones in there, he'll be all right. So, I don't know. I mean, we'll find out how he would do with Baltimore, but Baltimore is probably going to make the playoffs next year. They're going to be a good team. It really can't hurt to trade for Julio Jones. And the Ravens are a team that's not afraid to trade for established players. We see it all the time. Yannick Ngakoue, Marcus Peters. I think they traded for Calais Campbell. Like, they're not afraid to do that. It's definitely what the Ravens like doing, is trading for established guys, and Julio Jones is no different. At number 4, it's the Miami Dolphins at plus 800. Now, the Dolphins, they definitely made some improvements to their receivers. They signed Will Fuller. It was a one-year deal. I get that. They took Jalen Waddle, 6th overall, of course, out of Alabama. And they signed Devontae Parker to like a 4-year, $30-something million deal a couple years back. So he's probably still in the middle of that contract. And I feel like Devontae Parker and Julio Jones play pretty similar roles. I mean, both ex-receivers. So, like, I don't really know how that one works exactly. So, I mean, the Dolphins, of course, have the assets to make that happen, which is probably why they're on this list. I think they have an extra first-round pick next year from trading back with the 49ers, of course. So, yeah, they could make it happen based on the assets they have, but I don't know if it's the best fits. It's kind of like, Lamar Jackson and Tua. I don't know how I feel about those guys as passers right now. I feel like there's a better opportunity out there for Julio, but based on what the Dolphins have to offer, they can make that happen for sure. Plus 900 is the 49ers. Now, the 49ers, they have Deebo Samuel, they have Brandon Ayuk and George Kittle. I talked about the Titans before and how scary that team would be with Derrick Henry, A.J. Brown, Julio Jones, but you talk about guys after the catch in that, on that team. George Kittle for a tight end after the catch is very good. Brandon Ayuk is ridiculous, and same with Deebo Samuel. Those guys are kind of like, they just bounce off guys. They break tackles with ease. You put Julio Jones there with that team, that would also be very scary. Makes Trey Lance's life very easy, or Jimmy Garoppolo ever starts the season. So that would be an interesting one. Now, I don't know how it fits the cap situation, because I know the Niners, they're paying some guys a good amount of money. They signed Trent Williams to a big contract, a left tackle. Garoppolo still making $20-something million this year. So I don't know how they're fitting all this in the cap, but they have a lot of young guys on cheap contracts too, so I will say that. And, we'll go down the list a little quicker here. So they have the Packers at plus 1,000. I would love that fit. Devontae, Julio. I just feel like, why not? I mean, the Packers have definitely neglected that wide receiver position for the last few years now, and that would make Aaron Rodgers very happy. If they want to, fix that relationship, then go ahead and get a future Hall of Fame wide receiver for him. That would help. The Colts plus 1,000. I mean, Carson Wentz has had plenty of success with big wide receivers in the past, Alshon Jeffrey specifically. So that would be a nice fit, in my opinion, with Michael Pittman there. The Cowboys, I don't know how they make that one work. I guess Michael Gallup may have to be in the trade to make that one happen. They already have 3 very good wide receivers there. I think Gallup's in the contract year, so maybe that's a swap they can make, plus draft picks, of course. The Chargers would be an interesting one. I like that. Mike Williams and Julio Jones are kind of similar body types, I'll put it that way. Definitely not similar players based on, Williams is a guy with a ton of potential, but has not had a Julio Jones type career yet. And of course, Keenan Allen. So, that would be a nice team right there. Having those 3 guys as your top 3 receivers. Of course, Austin Eckler out the backfield is not bad himself. They added Jared Cook. That would be a fun offense there for Justin Herbert in year 2. The Raiders plus 1,800. I mean, that's just the Raiders thing to do. They would probably get in on this. I mean, that would be a nice target. I mean, they drafted Bryan Edwards, who kind of is supposed to be that ex-receiver for them, but that didn't really work out the first year. I still have high hopes for Bryan Edwards. I liked him coming out of college, so we'll find out. But, having Julio, Henry Ruggs, and those guys, and Darren Waller, of course, would not be a bad group. I would definitely like that for the Raiders, but I just feel like they need to pay a lot of more attention to their defense right now, so I don't know if that's the right trade to make. My Giants at plus 2,000. I mean, I'd be very surprised if that one happens. I'll put it that way. They signed Kenny Golladay. I don't think the Giants have the cap space to make that one happen. I think the Giants would have to include like Sterling Shepard and maybe somebody else to even make that work with the contracts, but maybe that would be a very cool fit, honestly, to have Kadarius Toney, Kenny Golladay, Julio Jones in the same offense. I would actually love that, but not going to happen. The Bills trading for another big wide receiver 2 years in a row. I mean, I don't see that one happening either, but having Stephon Diggs and Julio Jones on the same team and Josh Allen playing like an MVP. I mean, you can't go wrong. That would be very cool, but I just don't see that happening. And then the Eagles, plus 2,200. I mean, they took Devontae Smith. They want to pay attention to the wide receiver group, of course. Make Jalen Hurts' life easier, but I just don't see that one happening either. So that is the list. And I feel like if I had to pick a team where I think he's going to go, I'm going to guess it is the Tennessee Titans. Now, I'm probably going to be wrong because it could be any team on this list and maybe even the team that's not on the list. So we'll find out. But I think the best fit for him, like where do I think Julio Jones would have the most success, I'm probably going to say the Green Bay Packers. I feel like putting him with Aaron Rodgers there, with Devontae Adams already. I mean, I'm going to assume that Aaron Rodgers is staying. I feel like if they traded for Julio, you're not going to trade for Julio, then trade Aaron Rodgers. That would make no sense. So I'm assuming that all three guys, Devontae Adams included, would be there. I feel like that would be a dream scenario there. So I would love that fit for him personally. I mean, there's a couple others I would like. I would like the Chargers, of course. I think the 49ers would be definitely very interesting. So I don't know. We'll find out, though. It's very interesting of what's going to happen with Julio Jones. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about this and where do you think he'll go. Do you actually think he'll be traded? What do you think the trade will look like? I feel like Atlanta can get a first-round pick. I mean, I was kind of skeptical about that at first. I was thinking maybe a 2 and a 4 plus a player, but yeah, they can get a first-round pick. I don't know. I think a team out there is going to be desperate enough and think, Julio Jones is a top 5 wide receiver in football. I know he's 32, but he definitely can make a team into a Super Bowl contender if they're right on the cusp, like the Green Bay Packers, for instance. They're close. They've been to the NFC Championship the past 2 years and just cannot get over the hump. If you gave them a Julio Jones, that may change things and actually bring them to the Super Bowl for once. So we'll find out. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. We're doing the Baltimore Ravens next for the 3 expectations I have for each team, and I'll talk to you guys next time.